With this new school year getting ready to start for many of us, I've got a few last minute tips. And if you have already started, like we have, still, these tips can apply to you. Number one, make sure you've got some fun on the calendar for this semester, if not the whole school year. And I'm not necessarily meaning detailed plans, but mark off some days for a movie night with a family or an outing. Put a couple nights for date nights on there or some mom nights. Whatever it is, just get them on there so that that time is reserved and it's in your mind that you need to do something for yourself, with your spouse, with your family. Details can come later, but get the time reserved. Number two, decide some non-negotiables either by the week or by the day. What I like to do, and I do this by time, I kind of said that every day we are going to do 15 minutes of math at least, 15 minutes of language arts at least, and 15 minutes of together work at least. Ideally, we get far more than that. With kids who are 7th and 9th grade, there's a lot more to our days. But at a very minimum, whether the washing machine is overflowing or surprise medical appointments happen, whatever, my non-negotiables are set. And I do this by time rather than by lesson, because it may not sound like much, especially if you are still on the newer side of homeschooling, to say every day at minimum we will do a lesson of math, a chapter of a read aloud, and a lesson out of language arts. It may not sound like much until So I like to do it by time, and then we've got that set. But decide that beforehand. And write it in your planner, write it on your whiteboard, whatever it is. That way everyone knows that in the worst case scenario, these are what you want to get done at a minimum. Next one, speaking of at a minimum what you want to get done, make some plans for sick days. I like to just take a sheet of paper, write out the kid, and then some things that they can do when they're not feeling terrible, but they're not sick enough to need to be sleeping all day or whatever, but not necessarily fantastic enough to engage in a full day. And I like to think of other ways of learning besides just the bookwork. So I do include some bookwork that's easier, less mind, things that don't require a lot of mind power. And then also things like snap circuits, Turing Tumble, some shows on PBS. Rick Steves' Europe are great for a little bit of history and geography and engaging, but you don't have to pay attention too much. Things like that, maybe a coding game on a tablet, typing. Just make a list of some things by kid of what a sick day looks like. And the little bonus tip is to make one for you too. When you are sick and not feeling great, what can you do that requires minimal effort for you, but the kids can do on their own? Or something different than everyone is doing, but that's not something hard for you to do. Now you may be wondering, why make those decisions now? Because you can just figure them out when you go, or when it happens. I get it, but when life is devolving, because you're on the phone with a repairman and you've got crying kids and someone needs their diaper changed and the dog's barking, do you have the brain space to think about it? And so the easy thing then is just to be like, oh, go watch TV, go outside to play. And those aren't bad things. I use them liberally. But making decisions beforehand means that you don't have to make decisions later. You've already decided, here's what we can do. Here's the minimum. And that helps you to reframe it You get it done, you feel satisfied because even if not everything got done, your non-negotiables were accomplished, the kids learned whatever while they were playing, apps on the phone or watching something from PBS or whatever. And you're not going to end the day beating yourself up because things went wrong and not as the plans laid out. So 13 school years of experience tell me these decisions now pay off in the end. Now, for meals. First of all, I have a collaboration coming out in September. I think it's the second week of September with back to school meal ideas. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But next thing I like to do is to make up big batches of seasonings and marinades that we like. And I like to do this at the beginning of the school year so that I've got dinner half done. Big jars of taco seasoning or wing rub seasoning we like. We've got a hamburger one. Whatever you like, make up a big batch of it so that you have meals part way done. As for the marinades, I like to freeze them in like 1 cup jars, glass jars, pop them in the fridge, and then I've got meals, again, part way done. If your marinades have dairy in them, don't do that. If your marinades have fresh citrus juice, do bottled citrus juice instead because it's already been processed, so it'll last longer. Label the jars, put it on your calendar, and then you've got meals already done. If you have the freezer space, pour it over your meat in meal-sized portions in Ziploc bags and freeze it. And then again, you've got dinner halfway done. And the last thing I suggest is to go through, I've got a handout that I will leave down there of days that sometimes are easy to forget to plan. And then your school year's going along and you realize that you forgot to plan spring break. Several years I've done that. Or you haven't left some extra buffer days for sick days or spontaneous field trips, that sort of thing. Yes, our school year technically is longer than 180 required days, but that's fine because I know that we've got built-in buffer time. And if we don't end up needing those days, fantastic. We can just have them off for whatever reason or shorten the school year. But I have a list of them all in a handout. So check it out down there, and I will see you in the next video.